Hello everyone. Today's video we will discuss about code in a new language in C++ program. So today we will show you an C++ program in this topic.
This program can be explained as a pseudocode as follows. Declare and initialize variables I, j, and n as integers. Next line, print enter a number on the screen. And next line, get input from the user and store it in variables n. Next line, start a loop that runs until I is less than or equal to n. Next line, start a nested loop that runs until j is less than or equal to n. Next line, print the value of I on the screen. Next, end the nested loop. Next, move to the next line. And next line, end the outer loop. And the last line is end the program. In this program, the outer loop I run n times and the inner loop j also run n times. These create a grid of numbers with the same number of rows, columns as the input number, n. The inner loop prints the value of I on the screen for n times, then the outer loop will execute the inner loop for n times. In short, the program takes an input from the user and creates a grid of numbers with the same numbers of rows, columns as the input number. It's a simple program to understand the nested loop concept in C++.
So in this C++ program, we're gonna describe as an algorithm as follows. Number 1, start the program by declaring and initializing the variables I, j, and n as integers. 2. Print the message enter and numbers on the screen to prompt the user for input. 3. Take input from the user and store it in the variable n. 4. Begin a loop that runs n times starting with I is equals 1 and incrementing I by 1 each time. 5. Within the outer loop, begin a nested loop that also runs n times starting with j is equals 1 and incrementing j by 1 each time. 6. Within the inner loop, print the value of I on the screen. 7. End the inner loop and move to the next line. 8. End the outer loop. 9. End the program. This algorithm takes an input from the user and creates a grid of numbers with the same number of rows and columns as the input number. The outer loop runs for n times and the inner loop also runs for n times. The inner loop prints the value of I on the screen for n times and the outer loop will execute the inner loop for n times. This creates a grid of numbers with the same number of rows and columns as the input number. It's a sample program to understand the nested loop concept in C++.
In this flowchart, we're going to explain the function of this C++ program. Number 1. The program starts with a symbol indicating the beginning of the program. Number 2. The first step is the declaration and initialization of variables I, j, and n as integers. Number 3. Next, the program prints the message enter a number on the screen to prompt the user for input. Number 4. The user is then prompted to enter a number which is stored in the variable n. Number 5. After that, the program enters a loop that runs n times. The loop starts with I is equals to 1 and increments I by 1 each time. 6. Within the outer loop, the program enters a nested loop that also runs n times. The loop starts with j is equals to 1 and increments j by 1 each time. Number 7. With the inner loop, the program prints the value of I on the screen. Number 8. The inner loop ends and the program moves to the next line. Number 9. The outer loop ends and the program ends. The flowchart is a visual representation of the algorithm. It is a simple way to understand the process of the program. The flowchart shows the step-by-step process of the program, which starts the beginning of the program and ends with the end of the program. It also shows the relationship between the different steps of the program and the flow of control between them.
So in this C++ program, we're gonna explain the function in specific input-output program. The C++ program is a simple program that prompts the user to enter a number, then uses nested loops to print the number from 1 to the entered number in a matrix form. In the input, the user is prompted to enter a number. In the output, the program will print out a matrix of numbers within n rows and n columns. Each row will contain the number of that row. The program starts by including the istream library, which is used to handle input and output operations. Then it declares three integers variables I, j, and n. Next, it prompts the users to enter a number, which is stored in the variable n. Then the program enters a loop that runs n times. The loop starts with I is equals 1 and increments I by 1 each time. Within the outer loop, the program enters a nested loop that also runs n times. The loop starts with j is equals 1 and increments j by 1 each time. Within the inner loop, the program prints the value of I on the screen. The inner loop ends and the program moves to the next line. The outer loop ends and the program ends. The final output is a matrix of n times n with the number I in the I/th row. The matrix is filled with the same number of I. For example, if the user enters the number 5, the program will output the following matrix.